Okay, so this video has two purposes. This is an atdrafting.com customer, Charles. It's his project, and it's also going to be used for our online learning at Artisan School of Construction and Philosophy. And thanks, Charles, for being an atdrafting.com customer. I'll show his, let's see, do I have this framing one? I'll just leave it in this view because I have to turn layers on and off. I'll show you what the final project looks like when we're done. But he is building this project himself, and I thought I would help him out with the framing by just showing him, and what he's interested in first is the wall framing. So I'm actually going to turn off the roof framing for right now, and I'm considering these gable end walls wall framing, not roof framing, and I'll show you why in just a bit. But for his drawings, I had separated these walls out, so I'm going to turn off the front, and I don't need this layer anymore. Get rid of it, and the left and the rear, and we'll start where I think is a logical place to start, and would be this wall right here. What I'm going to do is just grab that whole wall, and I want to lay it down for right now. Make sure that was 90 degrees. And so the first thing we would want to do when we're laying out the slab, and let me move this over here a little bit. I'm going to move this over 5 feet. I have to remember that because I'm going to move it all back later. The first thing we would want to do after your slab is poured, and you'll notice that we have these recesses. It's a brick ledge, okay? The reason you do that, you don't have to do it if you want to do this with flashing. You can have like an L, a Z flashing against your wall, but this is kind of an old style to put a brick ledge in your concrete at the edge, and I'll show you that later. I'll show you the brick later. But for now, what I want to do is simulate snapping a line, because this is really important on where you snap this line. You want to set your wall back a 1/2 inch. So when you pop your lines, you want to come back 4 inches, and then we'll just get rid of that outer line. Alright, so let's just imagine that that is a chalk line. And again, if you're using 2x6 studs, that would be 6 inches, and if you're using 2x4 studs, it would be 4 inches. What you want to do is pop your line so that your OSB is flush with your brick ledge, or if you don't have a brick ledge, the exterior corner of your slab, because you want your siding to hang down and be in contact with that. You don't want the OSB making the siding stick out, and when you look under there, be able to see the OSB. Okay, that's a common mistake people make, and I'm trying to head that off at the pass. Okay, so we got our line popped here. This would be a blue or red chalk line, not black like that. But so the first thing you want to do is lay out, and what I'm going to do is show this plate for now as one thing, because it wouldn't be, when you first build your wall, you would want this plate to come all the way through. Okay. Now we will, if I can get out of that group edit, we'll move these plates back down. For now, we're just going to move the top plate and the bottom plate to back 5 feet, and then I'll move this plate to here, because what you'll want to do is you'll want to lay them down on that line, okay? Now if this was a wood floor, you'd actually kind of tack it there so it wouldn't move. And you want to make sure that when you're measuring your plates, you leave this 1/2 inch back, okay? Don't cut your wall plates all the way to the end, because that's the point of popping this line at 4 inches. Okay, so now here I've got these drawn as big long plates, but what they're actually going to be is probably 16-foot 2x4s. So what we would do is, let's find out if we've got something close. We should have something close to 16 feet, because yeah, right there it is, okay? Because that's the whole point of laying your wall out. I usually lay my walls out from the left for some reason. Well, in drawings I do. I think in real life I'll lay them out from that left because that's my left in real life. But in the drawings, for some reason, I always do it this way. That reminds me I probably should stop doing that. But it doesn't matter. The point to laying them out from one end to the other is that when you put your OSB flush with here, that you have a stud at 4 feet and 8 feet and 16 feet and so on, 12 feet. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this as if it were a, I'm just going to put this joint here, okay, and it's okay, some people don't realize this, but it's okay if that joint is lined up, because you don't want to really waste material, right? So, and the reason that you have a double top plate is, let me lock that axis. Oh, not sure what happened there. Sometimes things just don't work the way you want them to. The reason you have a double top plate is to take care of this situation, and you'll see in a minute. So we'll just leave it at that. So this building is long enough to where your next plate would go all the way to the end, okay? So if you just wanted to get technical and you built your slab right, it would be 10-foot 3. You'd have a 16-foot piece and a 10-foot 3 piece there, okay? Because this measurement is going to be 26 feet. And did I measure from the right spot? So it would go from here to here. Yeah, 26 feet 4, which is 26 foot 3, which was 16 feet and 10 foot 3. Yeah. Okay. That's just the reason I bring that up is because some people think you have to stagger these joints, and you don't, because this bottom plate is going to be bolted down to the concrete, and this one is going to be nailed at that stud, and then your double top plate is going to overlap it. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is, this is going to take a while. I'm going to go ahead and show the layout on this plate, but let me do that, and then I'll come back, because it's going to be it'll take me, 10-15 minutes probably to show, maybe not that long, but let me get it done and then we'll review it. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. There wasn't much in this wall, just a door. And I'll show you when I do the next one. I just wanted to go in and create all the little X's and O's and C's and all that. So now I'm going to copy that. I just copied that to the bottom plate. And this is what you would do when you're doing your layout. You see, you're going to put on a corner, on a 2x4 wall, you're going to have a corner like this, okay? You'll have what we call a 3-stud corner with blocking. It's not actual 3 studs. You're using the waste of when you cut these jacks off. You see, when you cut these jacks off, you're going to have blocks, and you cut them in half and they go in here, so there's no waste. Now, the first thing you would do is actually lay out your doors and windows. So here's our floor plan. You can see I do this in the software that comes with SketchUp Pro called Layout, and it's where you set up your sheets, your construction drawings. And you can see I've got this door, the center of the door at 3 feet 9. Okay, so let's go back. If we were looking at that 3 foot 9 is from the outside edge. Okay, so if we were measuring over 3 feet 9, you would see that that is indeed, we'll put us a reference line here. And if we were to draw us a mark there, you know, we'd have a mark right here. So you would lay out your, you know, the center of your door. Then you take the rough opening, which is in this case 38.5, because we're using a Therma-Tru door, which requires another 1/2 inch. Typically doors, exterior doors, or any even interior doors, you have to allow 2 inches. The size of the door plus 2 inches. So if it's 36 inches, you would normally allow a 38-inch rough opening and 2.5 inches on the height. So this is 82.5. It's 6 foot 9. We'll have to fix that. Oh, look, I'm measuring from, okay, yeah, 6 foot 10.5. I was measuring the jack. So there you'd have yourself a mark there, and then what you would do is measure back, what was that, 38.5, 19.25? Yeah, or what did I say, 38.5, that's 19 3/8. Let's see, is this 38.5? Can I do math? 38.5, would that not be 19.25? We may have a little discrepancy here. 2.5. I know what it is. You see, that's a 1/2 inch, okay? We didn't allow, and this happens, okay? This is real life we're going through right now. We try to put logical dimensions on the drawings. We don't want to put, you know, I could put 3 foot 9.5, but it just sounds better and easier to remember 3 feet 9. So, but we're going to leave it where it is, because that's, for this, it's close enough. The point is, you want to measure back from the center of your door, and I'm going to delete that because I don't need it, and on both sides, and you're going to make these marks right here, okay? You're going to put an O for where the jack is, and an X where the king stud is, okay? This is your jack, this part that holds up the header, and this is your king stud, okay? And then the point of this is that when you're doing this, you're not going to have your building parts laying here. You're just going to be, you wouldn't have done it yet, right? You might have built your jacks and T's and all that, but when you're laying out your wall, you don't. So you put your O's where your jacks are going to be, and you put your X's for where your long, whether either a king stud or a stud. That indicates, an X indicates that you're using a pre-cut stud, which is the full length of the stud right there, okay? Now, you would normally nail your jacks together before you put them in here, but you don't have to, okay? Now, the 3 stud corner, I usually do it like this. I'll put an X on the end, and come over 1.5 inches, make a line, put a C to indicate a corner, then put a line all the way across, and then an X. That indicates to me that that's a corner, okay? Now all you do is you continue your layout of your studs. Your first stud, okay, is going to be 15.25 from the end of the wall, okay? What that does is that puts the center of it at 16 inches. See, that's the center. So you want to mark the edge of it, not the center, okay? So the first mark you make is 15.25, And then usually what I'll do is I'll drive myself a little nail here, and I'll hook my tape over the nail, and then I'll start going 16 inches on center. Now, because I laid out my doors first, I know. Uh, Now, here's the thing: a lot of people will go ahead and mark like a little. Let me go 16 inches, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. They'll put a little crow's foot or something, you know, like that to indicate. Well, it would be at the edge. Right? Some people have their own system, and it's fine. Some people would do that, you know, to indicate that there's a block above the header up here. And then some people just don't mark it here, and they know that since this is a O, you see the reason you put the O's the way it is, you got an O here, it faces the opening, and O, it stands for opening, and the O on this side means that this is the side of the opening. So it gets a little confusing if you start putting lines and X's here. Somebody's liable to throw a stud in here with, uh, without thinking about it. That's happened before. I've come down and I've seen people start nailing studs in here, and that's because they hadn't put the header in and yet. So, but anyway, at this point, you'll start come down. You'll see that the first next stud is 4 feet. Okay, and then you'll make a mark there. Right, you'll lay that out, and then you'll just continue on down 16. Because you've already got your first stud marked and you're hooked over that nail, you can go 16 inches now. Okay, so you just go down through here, marking your studs, and on these other walls we'll have windows, and they're basically the same as the doors, the way you lay them out. Okay, and at the end there's your corners. The two longest walls, the reason I started with this wall is because it's the longest wall, and then this is your other long wall, so you would do your two long walls first. So now then what you do is you would put in doors and windows first. So I'm going to grab all that, I'm going to put that in first, 5 feet, okay? You see, so now if you put your doors and windows in first, you'll know not to lay studs in there, okay? Because the header will be there. And sometimes we'll wait. You'll wait till you've got your top plate across there. So then all the rest of this stuff, which I'm just going to move the studs in and corners now. Put them in 5 feet. And then once you get all your components in there, normally if this was a wood floor and we had these two plates, we would leave this one here and take this one at the top, because then that one's already against the wall. So now you've got your wall basically put together. It's all nailed together, and you're going to come back and put your top plate on. Now your top plate, this is your double top plate. Okay, it's going to be cut back wherever you have corners and tees. Okay, 3.5 inches. Right, so that's because the other wall on the ends is going to lap over it. Now, when you do your double top plate, you want to make sure that you start your 16 foot from this end. Okay, let's go this way, and let's just see how long a 16 foot board's going to be, and we'll see where it ends up. You see here, right there. Okay, so you want this double top plate to overlap that as far as you can, and so right here would be a good place to stop it. Right here. So right here, we're gonna come over, get rid of that little part because that won't belong there, and this is just to indicate where the joint in the board is. You see the joint here on the top plate, and your double top plate is overlapping that joint, okay? Because what happens is you'll have a hinge point in your wall wherever the joint is, and you want to make sure your top plates overlap that at least 4 feet. So by starting the 16-foot plate, top plate from this direction, and then starting the 16-foot double top plate from this direction, you've overlapped them. Okay, now normally on a house you might have a T in here, and you don't have any T's. That T is where walls intersect, and if a wall intersects, say right here, this would be cut out for the double top plate of another wall intersecting it, and you'd want to be careful that these were not really close to each other. Now what you're going to do is we'll regroup all this stuff and stand it up. Now you're going to need somebody to help you, because this thing, since you can't really secure this to the concrete, you don't want to start driving nails in your concrete yet. It'll be ugly. You're going to raise it up, okay? But you're going to have at least another guy to help you. 2 people could raise this wall. It's short enough. Okay. Then you're going to brace it off. Now here's the thing. Since you have a concrete floor, a concrete slab, and a brick ledge, and this is the front out here. The reason I'm saying brick ledge is because the wall is set back. What you want to do here is just brace off your wall. Let's just copy one of these studs out here. If I can get it where I need it. And that would be at about a 45-degree angle. And then we'll just move this down. And really what you want is this corner to be like this. I mean, you can put it that way, but in any event, you don't want the brace being in the way when you start to frame your other walls, okay? And since is this a component? I don't want to, yeah. No, it's not. So I was afraid I was going to edit my studs. Okay, so it'll come down. Where's my ground? There's my ground. Oh, it doesn't come out that far. Anyway, the ground is there, and you're going to brace this wall off, okay, to the ground on both ends. Now this will get easier because as you get all your walls up, everything will start to go together better, and you'll see what I mean. So let's turn on is that the right or the left? There you go. And you'll do the same thing on this wall. You'll raise it, you'll do it exactly the same, except in this case, you'll have your window framing, your window sill framing here. And then what you'll do is you'll put a 2x4 on either side, like that. These walls really should be laid out from the same end. I use an extension for these walls, so that's why they're laid out in a circular fashion. In this case, I like to push my headers all the way up to the top, depending on how tall your windows are. These walls are 9 foot tall, which reminds me, these studs are 104 5/8. Okay, that's a pre-cut, and of course I've got this 7 feet in inches, so it's 8 foot 8 5/8. But we call them 104 5/8 studs for a 9 foot ceiling. But you don't really want to have this header down a few inches and have little wimpy blocks up here, and that's why we push the header all the way up on these windows. On the door, you're going to have this situation because your door's 6'8" and your wall's 9 foot tall, but you got decent blocks up here. Okay. The other thing you can do is you can build your header. You can build it like a build out header like that, and make it flush on both sides. Okay, because the 2x4 on top, on bottom is going to kind of box it out and keep all this nice and straight and flush on both sides, so that when you put your wall surface in here, you won't have to fur that out. And again, that's just that's how that extension. I love Medic's extensions, this wall extension, but this is how we would do it. And I think he actually has that as an option. I just didn't select it. Okay, so this would be out here, and the same thing here. So when you're building your headers, you would put both sides flush with the 2x4 on the bottom. You build your headers first, right? You'll get yourself a 2x4, and you'll put it on the 2x10 and nail it. You know, it's upside down on the floor. You'll nail your 2x4 into it, and then you'll slide it in the wall. Okay. And then what you'll do is you will brace off this side, because you know these walls are just going to be kind of hanging out there at first. 180. It's actually easier to do in real life than to draw it. It's kind of a pain to draw. Alright, so you'll have a brace right about there for that one. Okay, so you built your two long walls first, and the reason is because your long walls will have your corners. Okay, the end walls don't have the corners, they just have studs on the end. So let's pretend we're doing a rear wall. You can see here the reason we cut back that 3.5-inch double top plate was so that we could have this double top plate of the rear wall overlap it, and that makes it really strong. Okay. Now this kind of gets into the roof framing, but I'm going to go ahead and kind of give a preview of this. This wall is built so it's dropped. Let me turn on the trusses for a second. Okay, if I were to slide a truss over here, and these are attic trusses because he wanted an attic space, you can see, okay? But if I were to slide this truss over, you can see that this wall is built to where it's under the top cord. You see? And this is called, if this was a truss, we would call this a dropped truss. But he wanted a window in the end of the wall. And so I think this is kind of an old style, old school wall framing, a gable wall end framing. And I think it works great. You can actually, you can decide, you can actually set your trusses first and then build this wall, and so you can use a truss as a guide. You certainly do want to use the trusses as a guide, because if I move that back and I turn on the roof framing, you'll see this is why the dropped wall, you know, is there, so that you can put your outlooks, you nail them flush here and they hang out, and this makes your overhangs really strong. You will never have a droopy overhang if you do it this way. Okay, now down here it gets a little funky because you need your rafter tail to keep going. You need your rafter tails here. So what you'll do is you'll come back up here, what is this, 4 feet? You'll have your rafter tail be about, yeah, this is about 3'9". I think what happens is these are spaced, you know, from the top down or whatever. You just need a decent amount of here on top of this wall, so this part of the tail will cantilever fine. You know, you wouldn't want this this block, this outlook to be down here, because you see you wouldn't have much support. This part here would just be sitting on that short part there. So this gives this a long place to sit. And I was really going to kind of do the roof framing, you know, next in a separate video. So let me turn off the roof trusses and roof framing, and then we'll turn on the front wall. Okay, and here what you're going to do, build this wall laying on the ground or on the concrete floor, but you're not going to put the header in there. You could, but it's really hard. It's really top heavy. So what I like to do is just build most of the wall and stand it up. You know, top plates and everything. Leave out these little blocks, and then set the LVLs up there one at a time. Right? You take an LVL and then you nail this 2x6 or 2x4. Sorry, I'm so used to building 2x6 walls now. Take your 2x4 and nail it to one side. Actually, you don't really need a 2x4 on the bottom of this LVL. The extension shows it this way, but you can just, since this is an engineered lumber piece, you got two of these 11 7/8. Should be, yeah, two 11 7/8 LVLs. You can actually put them up there and set them on your jacks on each end, you know, and then put them up there one at a time, because the wall is going to be really top heavy. You can imagine trying to raise the wall up and the bottom sliding, and it's just really top heavy. It's difficult. If you try it, you'll see what I'm talking about. On the front wall, we've got what we call portal framing, because this portal framing is designed to keep this front wall from racking this way. Okay, because you have very little room here on the corner to get a good brace. You see on these corners you have a full sheet of almost a full sheet. Over here you don't. But this is just something that's required by code, where you have these garage doors and you have this smaller area. I think if you have at least 4 feet of wall here, you don't have to do this. But what you do is you let your header, I think I've got it extended, that's why this line is here, to measure the distance. I think it's 16 inches. What it does is, if we were to turn on our OSB wall sheeting, I can't see the little tiny, you can see what happens is it gives you a nailing pattern, and this portal framing has requirements. I'll have to look them up. I think it's every 3 inches on this header. And what it does is, once you nail this OSB and you put that nailing pattern, and it's on the outside out here, I'm just showing you on the inside, you would have a nailing pattern here. You see, if that header if it only lapped over just where the king stud is right here, then you wouldn't be able to nail this side panel to it, right? It would just be going straight up, and you wouldn't have any nails here at all. But because you do that, because you overlap that header, then you're able to put a nailing pattern here, and it keeps this from having like a hinge. The other thing is that before you put your OSB on, these temporary braces that you had up will move to the inside. Okay, so after you get all your walls up, what you're going to do then is take your braces. This is why you just kind of temporarily brace it while you're building it. And what you'll want to do is put this all the way up here to the top plate. Okay, because you're going to want to nail. You don't want to put it above the double top plate. You just want to be able to nail it into that double top plate. And then this will come down, and you'll want braces long enough that it'll go all the way to the bottom plate. Okay, like that. And you'll do them both ways. against that, and then you'll have an X. What you'll do next is you'll take and let's copy them. Well, let's just turn them around. I was going to mirror them. Yeah, let's mirror them so I don't have to worry about exactly where they're located whenever you see. And what this is going to allow you to do is obviously brace off your walls, but also get them really plumb. Okay, because before what you'll do is you'll nail this at the top, and then you'll have somebody hold the level out here like a 6-foot level on the corner, and when you get it plumb, you'll say nail it. Okay, and these will be nailed over the top of each other. Okay. I almost forgot that you really need a brace coming down from both ways from the corner. As I was trying to clean up the drawing, I noticed I don't have all of my bracing in. You would have a brace coming down from the corner both ways. That allows you to plumb the walls this way and plumb them this way. Okay. And these braces would remain on here till after you get all your siding and trim and everything done, just because it's going to help you keep your house, help keep it stable and plumb until all your finishes are put on. And usually we wouldn't take these braces, these corner braces off until we get ready to do drywall or any kind of interior finishes. Well, this is a neat little project, and again I want to thank Charles for being an ArtisanTony.com customer, and if you need help like this, just let me know. You can contact me at atdrafting.com, and we will work out a deal for you too. Thanks for watching.